Ryle, this guy who's hot, neurosurgeon, he has a bad temper and an insane amount of free time. This fool, I mean, I am not a neurosurgeon, but I don't have this much time to hang out.
I really wanted like a cam in the hospital of someone being like, where the fuck is my doctor? Like,
not the patient on the bed being like, brain open. Where's the doctor?
Ryle, you in these streets, you supposed to be in these scrubs.
Okay.
Do your motherfucking job, okay? When does this man work?
Ooh, wait. No.
Listen. Listen. Wait.
I hate you for that.
Let me fix it.
All right. Wait.
Hell yeah. What?
Hell yeah. Get it.
I don't know where that voice comes from. I do it all the time.
Yo, it came from the solar plexus or below. Damn.
It's like an old man.
So wait, class, you know that Fran and I switch off writing the doc. We call it the doc, but it's a document where it's a structure for our episode. It's how we read, but we also speak extemporaneously.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Oh,
we
girl.
speak what? We speak extemporaneously. Huh?
Off the cuff, off the top of the dome.
I do love saying top of the dome. I can't even say it. Extemporaneously?
Extemporaneously. It's like
God.
you know, we have a structure, but we then go off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I use the context clues. I didn't pass the third fucking grade.
She said, I do have a degree or two.
1.5.
Listen, girl, I'm still glad they fucking got rid of those loans. Damn.
Thank you. Okay, I keep cutting you off.
So
please go.
My question for you is, every time you write an episode and then I go in there, I make one edit, class, and then Fran's little icon on Google Doc pops up. What you doing? You editing? What you writing? I'm like, how do you always know I'm on the doc? I mean, because I do track changes sometimes, so I know you get notifications. Yeah. How do you always know I'm on there?
It sends them. I have it turned on so that it emails me. So I get
every
it
time someone's on there.
Yeah, it just gives me an email to say that you no, you know what it is? It's probably because I just keep it open. Like when I'm working on it.
So you see activity.
I just see activity, it's open, and I think like when it's just all my tabs are open, I see that you're in there, and I'm just like, I don't know. I'm excited to see what you're at.
Yeah, totally.
I'm always like, yeah, because I try to, this time around, well, you know, I wrote a few Delon-esque lines.
You really did.
I did.
You really did.
So I'm always curious to see like which ones resonate with you and vice versa. You know what I really want to do? There's this we're getting so off track, but there's this really, really awesome Instagram where they show the movie and then they show the screenplay underneath it, like as it's rolling. I really want to do
like
that.
An account?
Yeah, it's an Instagram account. I can't forget what it's called. But it's really cool because it shows you how the scene is actually written versus how it plays out.
Yeah.
I want to do that with our doc one time.
Ooh, that's great.
Just so people can see how much of it is read and then where we go off on tangents and make jokes and stuff, because we're really fucking good at it.
I mean, well, also like it sounds extemporaneous. But also like I love when like it sounds very natural and then we fuck up and then we go,
and then we're like, keep that in.
Okay. Hello and welcome back to Lemme Fix It, the podcast that says, Dear Hollywood, please bring back the 90-minute movie. Please. I'm fucking begging you. I'm DeLon Grant. I'm an actor, a singer, a photographer, writer, and an educator.
And I'm Francesca Ramsey. I'm an actress, producer, writer, and graphic designer. And we are continuing our movie-focused season of Lemme Fix It with a little movie surrounded by a lot of drama, okay? From backlash towards the book that the film is based on, to a very awkward press tour, and now dueling lawsuits between the film's stars. The drama seems to be, dare I say, never ending.
Well played.
That's right. I thought that was cute. That's right. This week, we are talking about Netflix's It Ends With Us.
By now, class, you've probably heard about all of the film, about all the dramas. Start with the stars, Blake Lively, and the director and her co-star, Justin Baldoni. I didn't know this man's name before this movie.
I didn't know who that man was.
Okay. Keke Palmer. I don't know this man. I'm sorry for this man. But the stars have been butting heads on and off set, but it seems no one's actually talking about the film. And that's because it's essentially an elevated Hallmark movie. Well, a dark Hallmark movie, if you will.
Dark Mark. Dark Mark.
Dark Mark. I love it. It's slightly predictable, but it's still too damned coincidental. So what happened? How did It Ends With Us go from best-selling book to a torturous 2 hour and 10 minute slog of a movie? This week, we'll unpack the film and the drama before we do what we do best here on the pod, pitching how we'd fix it. So let's dive in. This is It Ends With Us. Let me fix it. Cat.
All right, so before we dive in, we've got 2 warnings. First, a content warning because this movie does deal with domestic violence. And then, of course, a spoiler warning because we are going to get into it. So if you haven't seen this film and for some reason you still want to, now is your time to pause and head over to Netflix to check it out. Okay, let's jump in.
Okay, so It Ends With Us is based on Colleen Hoover's New York Times best-selling novel of the same title. It's inspired by the story of Colleen's mother and her father. It follows a driven young flower shop owner named, wait for it, Lily Blossom Bloom.
And I'm sorry to jump in. What really annoyed me is she knows the name is bad, so she makes a joke out of it where she's like, my name is, I don't want to tell you my name. It's so bad. Like, no, that's just bad writing. Give her a normal fucking name.
I mean, you know what? You could have just, Lily would have been enough. Lily would have been enough.
Lily Blossom Bloom. Are you a cartoon character?
I know. Literally, totally. So Lily Blossom Bloom, she has this steamy romance with a smolderingly hot neurosurgeon who's named Ryle, which rhymes with Kyle, which I think is what she was going for. All the names in this movie
rhymes with vile.
All the names are just
projectile. Like, just gross.
Ooh, look at you. God, she's a writer, bitch.
Yeah.
So Ryle, this guy who's hot, neurosurgeon, he has a bad temper and an insane amount of free time. This fool, I mean, I am not a neurosurgeon, but I don't have this much time to hang out.
I really wanted like a cam in the hospital of someone being like, where the fuck is my doctor? Like,
not the patient on the bed being like, brain open. Where's the doctor?
Ryle, you in these streets, you're supposed to be in these scrubs.
Okay.
Do your motherfucking job, okay? When does this man work? He has 1 surgery in the entire film, okay? Just 1. So throughout the story, we flash back to Lily's childhood and see her falling in love with Atlas, another name that just too much.
I didn't mind this one as much, but
it's fine. I mean, it just feels it's just a little bit too much, okay?
Yes, right.
So Atlas is the homeless boy that conveniently lives in the abandoned house directly across from Lily's bedroom window. Okay, again, bad writing. This is the dark hallmark of it all. How is it? He's right there. The eye line is like, she can see him.
It's too convenient.
See what he's doing. Okay, so we also see in these flashbacks snippets of her abusive father. Now, not to jump ahead here, but one thing that I actually liked about the movie was that throughout the film, there are these moments where an argument between Lily and Ryle ends up with her getting hurt, seemingly by accident. There's a moment when he accidentally elbows her in the face after he burns his hand on the stove. They're arguing in the stairwell and she trips and hits her head. But later, those moments are revisited and we see that those accidents were really Ryle's escalating pattern of abuse. I thought that was very clever.
I thought it was clever too. I think it's not the Easter egg of it all, but like good writing, I think, gives the audience enough to go, right, to lean in and question things, or that look on that actor's face or whatever is giving me some information that I don't know, right? So all of those instances that you mentioned were a little cloudy, just
because she was
adjacent
like,
to the violence.
Every time she was like, what happened? He's like, oh, you fell, and she's like, okay, and as the audience, you're like, okay, I mean, it looked like she fell, like that does seem fine to me.
It all looked like an accident. Yeah,
exactly.
So the story culminates with present day Lily reuniting with her old flame Atlas, which of course sets Ryle off. There's a fight in Atlas's restaurant, which is called Root, I think. And later, when Ryle suspects Lily of cheating with Atlas, he ends up sexually assaulting her.
God.
The film begins to wrap up with Lily finding out she's pregnant by Ryle, guys, class, just so you know.
She didn't actually cheat. Yeah.
No, she didn't cheat. She's pregnant. She finds out she's pregnant, and then she mends things with Ryle. But after their daughter, Emmy, is born, Lily ends up asking Ryle for a divorce, telling her newborn daughter after she's asked for it, she's holding the little baby, and she says, the title of the movie, It Ends With Us, meaning the cycle of abuse that both Lily and her mother have experienced in their respective marriages. So
yeah. And here's the thing. You didn't need to say the title of the movie. You didn't need to say it.
You didn't. And you know what? she said it, and I was like, if this is where this movie ends, it
Mhm.
is terrible. Because I did not think, there was like a tag, there was like a life tag that you see her
Yeah.
having the baby and or,
Yes.
excuse me, raising the baby. The baby's like, you know, a toddler or something. So there's like
Mhm.
a little bit of a tag, but I was like, that is far too on the nose. My nose is cut off now. Like, it is really.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's very coincidental, very predictable, because after that happens, of course, she runs into
She has
Atlas
to.
at the farmer's market.
At the
and
farmer's market.
You know, she's got her ugly overalls on. God damn it. The
Her
woman
outfits
cannot
were so bad in this film.
she
Her
could
outfits were-
not dress for
maybe I
shit.
should have read the book. Maybe that's just like she's
No,
bohemian or something.
No, that's Blake. That's Blake
Really?
Lively. No, that's
She would have
totally
like she would
Blake.
have like a really. Do you remember? Sorry, class with tangent, but there's
Mhm.
a birthday party for a
Mhm.
character. You know, Lily. I think her name is Alyssa, who is Ryle's sister, who happens to work in Lily's shop. It's just too many coincidences.
Just wait. We have to talk about her for 2 seconds, because not only does she just happen to work in the shop, she just walks in one day and is like,
walks in.
"Hey, are you hiring? Because I would love to work here." And then
Meanwhile, she's wearing like Valentino, like she
She's just
needs a fucking job.
exactly. She's a rich girl who's never had a job before. And Lily's like, you know what? Sure, you can work here. And then, like, the next scene, they're best friends.
Crazy.
You're my best friend. Oh, and my brother just happens to be that guy that you met on the rooftop. And you guys like had a moment with, like, it's just so many coincidences.
You know what? I would buy if, here we go, fixing it. I would buy if he just happened to walk down the street and looked to his right and saw her in the shop. I would buy that. Versus like the sister of it all. But back to the outfit. So she walks to this party, and it's like this shot where they start at the shoes of these sparkly boots.
Not only are they sparkly boots, those boots are Louboutins. And I know this because Blake bragged about using her own clothes in the movie.
Girl, well, the boots were cute, but then
the
camera
owner,
the camera pans up, and it's terrible. The dress is terrible. And the hair, it just was not working. But it was supposed to be like this like big reveal. The worst part of it, though, the worst part of all of these fucking outfits is the jackets that she puts over them. She'll have a really cute outfit on, and then she'll put like, or a piece of an outfit, and then she'll put this big old Carhartt jacket over it.
A man's jacket.
So
she was mixing a lot of items. And listen, I know way too fucking much about
you
this
really
movie.
do. You're going in the details here.
Because listen, it's the TikTok of it all. You watch one fucking TikTok and then you're inundated. But I did watch when the press tour was happening last year, because I did a little like Lemme Fix It style video about the press tour. She used a number of items from her own closet and Ryan Reynolds, her husband's closet. Some of those jackets are actual men's jackets.
Mistakes.
She also, just awful.
Mistakes.
She also is wearing like a one-piece jumpsuit at one point that has no shape when she's on the rooftop. It looks like the type of overalls that you wear when you're like fixing a car.
When you're painting or something.
And it's just like misshapen and strange. There's also a scene where she's got 2 pairs of pants on. She's wearing like a pair of pants and then like another pair of pants on top of them, so you can see like the top of one pants.
Oh my God.
Just very strange.
Just bad choices. So back to the actual film. What worked in this movie for you, Fran?
Okay, you know what? Surprisingly, I really liked the girl that played young Lily. I felt like it was excellent casting. She doesn't really look like Blake Lively, but she had the mannerisms. Blake does this weird thing with her mouth when she's like really focused, where she's like kind of does like a little duck lip. And the girl was doing it, but she also had the same voice.
She had the same voice. I wonder if that was AI. I did think, because I was like, they sound the same. And I was like, is that AI? I wonder.
I hope it's not. I did read this is the girl's first movie. I don't know her name off the top of my head.
Must be nice.
It must be nice. But she did a really great job.
She did.
I will also say I really like Jenny Slate a lot. Jenny Slate, she played the sister.
Oh, okay.
She's a comedian. She was on SNL and she got fired for saying the F word. Like one of her first episodes on SNL.
Hilarious.
She's really funny. I think her character is kind of weird, but I liked her and Justin as siblings because they look very similar.
Sure. I'll give you that.
Like they kind of have like strong features, the nose, the dark hair. They really favor each other. That is about it for me. What about you?
I liked a lot of things. Like of class, I text Fran in the middle of my watching it when I was like 45 minutes in. I was like, oh my God, help. But I said, I don't hate it. I think there were some things that really worked well. I thought the use, I think you mentioned it kind of in the opening about these flashbacks. I thought that was really well done. One thing in particular that an editing thing that I thought was lovely was Blake Lively's character is at her childhood home. And then to introduce the flashbacks, she's late for something or the alarm goes off. And then present day Blake Lively's Lily steps off the bed and we go to her feet. And then she stands up and then it flashes back to the younger version. I thought that was really well done.
Okay, Justin.
Okay, go ahead. I thought again, those, I don't know if it's called Easter eggs, but like there was a weird tension around her father dies in the beginning of the film class. There was a weird tension around that. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to get something from that, which I thought, I was like, okay, so I'm waiting for that to be resolved. And then Ryle's character, Ryle and Alyssa, who are the brother and sister, they have an older brother that died, and there was a weird exchange there, another little Easter egg, right? I'm going, okay, now that's going to come back at some point.
Yes.
I also thought, I thought the acting was superb. I
Really?
thought the acting, I did.
Really?
I did. Well, Fran, if we're talking about the script, hear me out. Listen.
Oh God.
If we're talking about the script, which had like a lot of hard lines, I thought some hard lines being like they were cheesy and they were hard to deliver. As an actor,
bald is what we call those.
Bald. What do you say more?
Bald just meaning that it's like, when you're angry with someone, for example, you don't always say I'm angry at you, right? You don't always say how you're actually feeling.
Rarely.
You kind of. Well, I'm just saying, like, okay, here's a good example. If we're at a funeral, we might talk around the fact that we're at a funeral. We might be talking about like the food on the table. We might be like, like the on the nose or the bald version is, I'm so sad, I can't believe that he's dead. It's just like, it's just a little too direct.
But you also like need it for expedience, right? You need it for like efficiency of storytelling. Like we have to move the plot along, and we have
Yeah,
well, evidently you had 2 hours and 10 minutes, but
right. Well, and yes, sometimes it works, and the fastest way from point A to point B is a straight line.
Yeah.
But in this instance, I felt like there were just a lot of moments where I was like, these are not how real people talk.
Well, and I mean, and there's my point, right? I think just as an actor and someone who teaches acting, like I really was like, ooh, that's a hard line to deliver, right?
I'm sorry, you teach acting?
I do. I do.
Know.
She's an actress.
You do. You're a great actor. You're a fucking great actor.
But it's just like, that's a hard line to deliver. And I was like, wow, well done. I believed it, right? My thing is truth and honesty. Did I believe it? And I really did believe it. I don't know.
You're trying. You're still going on the good stuff, right?
Yeah. So
okay.
I did appreciate, this is a hard one.
Okay.
I did appreciate, so class, Ryle, the love interest, and an eventual husband is violent. And I did appreciate that they didn't try to like create a lot of empathy around the violence or justify the violence with history, right? Because a lot of times there's like, oh, he's like this, like because of whatever. There is a thing where he accidentally did kill their older brother Emerson, but they didn't say. But listen,
I'm sorry. I'm going to push back here. I felt like that was the explanation of like, here's why he's fucked up and a bad guy, because he, had this terrible thing happen. It was an accident, but it fucked him up.
But
that's how I
did it
read
create
that scene.
Well, here's a question: did it create empathy for you? I didn't have empathy for him because that happened.
I didn't have empathy for him, but I just felt like throughout the movie, he's framed as like so sexy and brooding.
Was he not?
And I mean, he
girl, bring me off a piece of that Baldoni shit.
Oh my God, Delon needs to fuck.
Listen,
I thought
it's
about
Friday night, and
I did think about you because when Justin Baldoni took his shirt off, I was like, Delon is going to go fucking crazy.
Well, you knew that was under there.
I could see the traps coming out of his shirt.
Yes.
But I didn't. Yeah.
When you see clothes hanging gay. When you see clothes hanging off of a man and you don't see if you don't see abs through the shirt and you don't see anything like it's kind of draping over them,
Mm.
generally,
Oh,
they
okay.
have a
Okay.
body.
I'm a recovering hetero, so I don't be looking at the men's like that. I'm trying to stay with the 12-step program. I'm trying to do the program. I'm not looking over there.
Okay, she said bandanas, U-Haul, and vagina, please.
Okay, so here's what I guess we're moving into things that we didn't like.
Yes.
Okay, are we thinking about that? The character names. We already said this. I don't. It just took me out. And I will say it is difficult to name characters. It feels like when you're trying to name a character, your mind goes blank and you're like, what is it? So I have some empathy there. But Ryle, I've never met a Ryle in my life.
It just feels like too close to Kyle. It just feels like you should have named him Kyle.
Yeah, it feels really weird. I will also say, things just happen in this movie. And maybe that's part of it coming from a book, where in a book, things happen in a way. And again, I haven't read this book, but for example, sometimes you read a book and it's almost written like a journal entry, like then this day happened and then on this day and on this day. And that works in a book. But in a film, it's just kind of like, I've always wanted to open a flower shop, and now she's opening a flower shop.
Yeah.
How did that happen? How does she have the money for that?
You need deeper roots to for us to buy into it, I guess, a little bit or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly. And again, the Jenny Slate of it all, who plays Ryle's sister, she just walks in off the street and she's like, I love this place. I just saw the sign in the window and you're hiring. Oh my God, flowers. I hate flowers. But you know what? Now I do want to work. Like, what the fuck is going on?
I know. And you know what? My brain went, oh, I created a whole story. Do you ever do that? Like when you're watching something, you just fill in the gaps. I was like, oh, she clearly wanted to buy this shop at some point and is just coming here to scope it out. It was just so weird.
Right. It was so exactly that would have made more sense because again, you are also a good actor and that's what actors are supposed to do. When it's not on the page, you're supposed to invent some motivation and maybe that would have helped Jenny. And again, there wasn't that much to work with, but she says, oh, I hate flowers, cut this scene. And Lily, goes into this thing about why she loves flowers so much. And it's just I don't believe you.
And it's also 45 minutes into the film.
And it's just yeah, exactly. You're opening this flower shop and I've seen nothing about why you love flowers. Right. I've seen nothing about how you nurture them and how we see her moving them around and we see her drawing some flowers in her journal or something.
Well, and let me tell you, these flower arrangements are hideous in this shop.
Hideous. They're
hideous.
Dry.
You know what they look like? Well, they look like Wednesday Addams owns the shop.
They're brown.
They are brown, dark and brown, and totally dry, Fred. They are dry. They're their heartbreak that's how I would describe it.
Just terrible. And then, okay, I also got to say this. Hassan Minhaj, who I really like, him and Jenny had no chemistry. They were like two friends.
Let me tell you something let me tell you something. Listen, I love Hassan Minhaj. I would tear him up. I would tear him apart.
He is my Disney princess. Prince, he is hot.
Okay, sexy,
beard?
Smart, funny, clear skin. Why do we keep putting him in films?
I don't know.
He can't really act. He was in what was Michelle Buteau's movie?
Babes.
He was her husband, right?
Yeah. He's just
and I was
goofy.
He's just goofy. And I get it, names and everything. I just was maybe that's the remit, right? You're just supposed to be the comic relief, and that's who you need that person to be. But I just was it's flat. It's flat.
Yeah.
You know?
It was really flat. I've got two more things because I definitely want to hear what didn't work for you. I really felt like Lily's character was all over the place. She's very sarcastic and we'll get into this a little bit later in the controversy, but the scene that takes place on the rooftop, which is kind of a really big scene in the film because it's the first time that she and Ryle meet each other. Ryan Reynolds actually wrote that rooftop scene. According to Blake Lively, she really felt like that scene needed work, and Ryan, offered to help. And I could feel his personality in the scene because she's so sarcastic. She's like, yeah, because you think blah blah blah, and it just comes off as very strange. It feels like she's uneven. Sometimes she's really sarcastic, and then other times she's kind of introverted and like not really sure of herself, and then other times she's like, I'm a bad bitch, and you're like, what is, which one is it? Like, you can't be all of these things.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
My turn.
You're like,
well, I thought you said you had more, and I was waiting for you to tee it up to me. She just shut up. She was like, and go. Damn.
I just powered off, bro.
Literally. Well, I guess I'll go now.
Please go.
What I thought was like, I didn't enjoy it just has genre confusion, right? So like I haven't read a lot of romance novels, but I read a few, and it feels like romance novel goes to rom-com very easily. So that was very clear in the style. But because of the domestic violence, which I feel like was a little gimmicky, if I'm honest, I just was like, wait, is this like a I don't know. Do you know that movie Sleeping with the Enemy with Julia Roberts from the 90s?
Yeah.
Is it like a
thriller?
Like a thriller? Thank you. Like a thriller. What's that movie with Jennifer Lopez where she's like no way out or some shit?
I don't know.
I forget what it is, but she's beating her husband too.
Wait, so question. Did you know the domestic violence happened in the movie?
I knew nothing.
So that's interesting because that was a criticism of the film.
I did hear that something that the press tour was not congruous with what the story was. They try to like forgive the pun, but like they try to make it flowery, right? And everything's good. And so I did hear that a little bit, but like
you didn't know.
The movie started and I was like, this is a rom-com. This is very clearly a rom-com.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it got weirdly, it just took a turn halfway through. And I was like, that is very weird. So like the genre was like just a little incongruous for me. The sexual tension between the two of them was good, but it just like kind of, I don't know. It lasted
uncomfortable.
It lasted a little long. He kept pursuing her. She kept saying no, which I guess was like a precursor to the violence. But I also, for some reason, the affluence bothered me. Just like the idea that they're all kind of just nobody's working.
No one is in that fucking flower shop.
Okay.
They sold one.
Wait, Fran, spot the fuck on. There was no random person. There was one lady who came in to randomly buy flowers that we saw the whole time.
Yeah.
And I also thought, I guess this is the rom-com of it all, but there was like this like sepia filter on the whole film, meaning like it just was like nostalgic and like beautiful and like making you feel good. And I was like, I just don't understand that with the dramatic part of things.
All of these like beauty shots of Blake Lively, like looking while she's writing in her journal and she's placing the flowers and she's like being all like, introspective. And then suddenly it's a domestic violence movie. And it's like the movie, I loved your description of genre confusion because that's really hits the nail on the head for me.
Yeah. And that's not to say you can't, bend things or hell, create a new genre. But like you led me in a certain direction and then there was a little bit of a misdirect, The last thing I'll say is, so class again, Ryle, the boyfriend, husband, and Alyssa evidently had an older brother that when Ryle was 6, they were playing cowboys, I guess, and their father had a real gun in the house. And as happens when you have a lot of times when you have a gun in the house, Ryle ended up shooting his older brother and killing him when they were kids. So there's like this weird scene in a bar where Alyssa brings up that they have 3 kids, and then Lily, Blake Lively's characters, ask them, "Oh, you have another brother?" And they've been dating for a while by this point. I'm like, that never came up. That's really. I mean,
think they're married by the. I think they're married by that point.
part.
I think they are.
That is. Is just so crazy to me.
He proposes after the sister has a baby, so they've been dating.
Like after in the hospital room, which was also like, how would you steal her thunder? How would you steal her thunder?
And they're totally okay with it. Yeah, so I think they've just been dating at this point. But you're right; it did seem weird. Like
it just
how
very
would you not
weird.
know
Like
that?
I don't know if we were dating for months. I just like. I don't know, post-coital while we're sitting in bed and we're, talking about deep things. I think I might bring that up in some way, or you know what I mean? It just seems.
Or there's like a picture
weird.
of, the brother
Fran,
like on the fridge, and Lily's like, "Who's this?" And like Ryle kind of gets weird, and he's like, "It's my older brother." And there's like a moment of like, to your point, you called it the Easter egg of it all. Like, she sees it and she Or, I mean, you know, she's a writer. Maybe she sees the picture of the brother and she does some sort of like, I don't know, flower arrangement inspired by the brother, and it sets Ryle off.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he's like, why? You know, she like uses the photo and she makes like a little.
Why did that hurt me when you were like, wow?
Well, that's how he would act.
Totally.
She's trying to do something nice for him. She does like a little collage. She like cuts up the picture or something. And he's like, why would you cut that up? And she's like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know. It's like, I just was trying to do something cool. And he's like, never touch my things. And it's, again, it's
I
kind
would
of
be
the
pissed
thing.
if you cut the picture up too, but your point still stands. I hear you.
Right. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It just she does something with
Right.
it. But I think, and maybe that would fuck up the through line that they were going with, where like, was it an accident? Was it domestic violence?
Right.
But like, kind of peppering in moments where you see he has a fucking attitude, and they kind of did it a little bit. Like when she first is introduced to him, he like
Kicks a chair and
he kicks a chair and stuff. So we do see he kind of has an attitude, but to your point about the sexual tension, he's creepy. He's creepy the whole fucking time. I think it's too much. Like he's so, and again, maybe this is kind of the foreshadowing of him becoming an abuser.
Sure.
But when he's acting like this, there's moments where like Lily is really into it. And I'm like, I don't know if this is like, this makes me feel uncomfortable that she
did
seems
say
to
at
be
one point,
into
because
it.
he's like staring at her, which is like, when he starts staring at her, you're like, oh God, I want a man to stare at me like that. It's like it's so longing and so like so intense.
Oh, I was
But at one
creeped
point
out.
she does say, why do you stare at me like that? Like she does feel uncomfortable because it happens a lot, you know, close-ups of just Baldoni's face. What surprised you about this film?
You know,
see how I
here's the
teed
thing.
you up there? See what I did there?
Yes, I
teed
saw
you
it. I don't know what happened. I will say I didn't hate it. I didn't think the movie was good. I did have the feeling where I was like, this isn't as terrible. I was expecting it to be really, really bad.
Me too.
And it was just kind of like an elevated Lifetime movie, you know, because a Lifetime usually has the like, you know, she was beautiful, he was handsome, then he hit her, you know, like that's like
the warning, the allegorical tale around. Yes, totally.
Yeah, everything was beautiful until it wasn't, you know, like that feels very Lifetime of it all.
Sure.
I will say like I kind of liked the love interest, the Atlas guy. I kind of thought he was like hot.
Oh God, yeah. He you know what he was? He was like approachable hot. He was like average hot, you know?
He was, and I gotta say, even though I felt like the homeless guy storyline was stupid, when I saw him as an adult, I was like, yeah, he was definitely homeless. I could see it. I was like, great casting.
The beard, the like gruff, what do you call it? The scruff, and that greasy ass hair.
Yeah, he totally looked like he
might
just,
still be home.
He just had the vibe. The casting really, again, like I think the casting was good. Even like the guy who was his younger version, they looked very similar.
They did. I really loved that story. I really loved the two of them falling in love as kids. It was really, it was only a few scenes, but you know what it was? It was like the innocence of teen desire, I guess, and trying to figure out how to make it happen. And then when it finally happens, you're like, oh, that's so beautiful. Good for you. Like you know.
I think the thing that I was missing a little bit, though, because I do agree with you, I felt like the acting, shout out to, I wish I knew the actress's name, but she really impressed me. I really thought that the young Lily was great. Their love story, I think what they were trying to do is show that Lily is this person that wants to help someone who's like
Saving
down
the
on
cat.
their luck. Saving the cat, exactly. And class, if you're unfamiliar with that reference, there is a great film and TV writing book called Save the Cat. And the premise of the book is that in order to get the audience on your hero's side, we need a moment where we see them save the proverbial cat from, you know, getting hit by a car. And so I think that that's what they were doing there. But then what I really wanted was to thread that needle to see Lily trying to save Ryle. Like, this is this broken man and I'm trying to save him. And like, I just didn't really I just didn't really see that. But again, I
Right.
think that's because they were trying to do this, like, did he hit her or not thing?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, again, like, I still think that was very clever, but I think it made it difficult for me to connect childhood Lily with adult Lily. I just felt like their personalities felt different to me.
Did you question why she was in Boston? Because class, just to give you this little tidbit. So Atlas and young Lily, when they're teenagers, Atlas talks about going to the Marines, but he also talks about wanting to go to Boston. I think there's some kind of familial reference that he was either from Boston, born in Boston, or lived in Boston, or something like that. And he says, he's a really good cook and he enjoys cooking. So like they're planting all these seeds. So then he becomes a restaurant owner and he moves to Boston. Lily is from Maine and then randomly ends up in Boston. And I just wonder, like, was she?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't
Was it
know.
on purpose? Was it accidental? That was really interesting. I guess Boston is, like, in New England, a major hub, especially for New England.
Yeah, I mean, I knew they were in Boston, but I missed how she got there. Just it was like she went to the
wasn't there.
Yeah, she went
wasn't
to her
present.
dad's funeral, and then all of a sudden she was opening a flower shop.
Yeah,
and
right.
I don't know how that happened. Something that I thought was really interesting is we recently reviewed Waterworld. If you haven't, I don't know when this episode's going to come out. Oh no, I think Waterworld's coming out first, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So another thing I thought was interesting was we kicked off the season with Waterworld. If you haven't listened to that episode, please go back and listen to it. It's very funny. But that film was directed by its star, Kevin Costner. And similarly, Justin Baldoni is the star of It Ends With Us. He's also the director. Delon, do you think that Justin did a good job as the star and as the director? And or was there one that you think was more successful than the other?
Compared to Waterworld?
I mean, I just thought it was interesting because I was like, how many? I'm curious if there's a trend with director stars and like the performance of the film.
I'll tell you this right now: they tend to be men. They tend to be men wanting to feature their own face. Let me tell you that right now.
That is such a good point. I don't know that I can think of a woman who is directing and starring in her own thing.
Right. Will Hollywood let a woman's film that she directs be, dispersed? Or what do you call that?
What if you're on your period? You're not going to be able to direct and act.
You have a baby? Girl, you got to be at home. This is Donald Trump's America.
Yeah, literally. So do you think he did a good job?
I actually do. I mean, honestly, because I think one of the things that surprised me is how much I liked the film. Because I really went into it like anticipating that it was going to be very bad. So I think, he did a good job. I texted you when we were texting while I was watching it. I was like, but he loves his face, though. Oh. He has a lot of close-ups of his face. It's a pretty face, Justin. It's a pretty face.
But see, and I'm so glad you said that because I felt the same way about Waterworld, where it's like, can you be objective? Because I did think you brought up that scene where, like, present day Lily morphs into past Lily. He had some moments that I think were creative as a director, but those close-ups on the face and the body and the traps, it was like Justin is like, I'm a fine motherfucker, and I want y'all to see.
This is also a red flag for you, Lily. If I could go back in the past and tell you something, but he has this line where he says, have you ever seen anybody that looks, or a neurosurgeon that looks like this? Most of the guys that look like this you see on soap operas. And I was like, wait a minute, that's when I would have been like, good night.
I mean, he's a dick. He's really full of himself. He has, a moment where he says, I really want to kiss you. And she's like, does this really work on women? He's like, every single time. And she's like, okay.
I kind of liked that.
Okay, here's the thing, Delon. You are dickmatized, and I think it's clouding your judgment.
Oh,
I think you have. I think you have
this, friend. A little sidebar. We talked about this when we were in Cancun. I was like, "Oh, that guy's hot," and you were like, "You know what? I just realized about you. You look at the body first. You do not look at the face." And it's very true.
And here's the thing. I think Justin Baldoni is an attractive man. I mean, don't get me. I'm not blind. Quite. He's good looking. I'm just saying that because you think he's hot, you're like, oh, I like that moment. I'm like, yeah, the moment was creepy. You're like, I would fuck him. Delon's ass up. I'm into this. Yeah, I know you are. I know.
Girl, yes. But why I think I liked it is because the line every time. You don't, he wouldn't expect him to say that. You'd be like, oh, like talk around it or whatever. The idea that he actually says it is like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't expect you to say that.
You're a hoe. Yeah.
Which is like, and who's transparent about that? Who's upfront, which I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right.
So let's get to these controversies, Fran, because you and listen, I'm a follow your lead here because you know the TikTok I do, you know way more than I do about this. So.
It's a lot. And listen, we're gonna do like a speed through because there's so much fucking controversy. But when the book came out in 2016, it was a huge hit, but it got a lot of backlash due to what Delon rightfully pointed out, the genre confusion. Because of the way that it portrayed domestic violence, the book was really marketed as this fluffy romance like the film without any hint of the abuse that takes place throughout the story, which of course can be quite triggering. The book is covered in flowers. You know, it is positioned as sexy romance. And again, I have not read the book, but a number of people said that like the sex scenes were really steamy and you know, hot. And then all of a sudden it's like, and now it's violent. And you're like, whoa, where did that come from?
Right.
There was also oh, go ahead.
But there was also like there was also like an It Ends With Us coloring book and a nail polish set of colors inspired by Lily Bloom, which is weird. They were trying to push something, and it just is not congruous with what the story is.
Yeah, if the movie, and look, I get it. Like, you need to come up with cute tie-ins for a book. It's a great way to sell and promote the book. But given what the book was about, it just felt very insensitive to be like, color a cute coloring book and like paint your nails to like be like Lily, you know, whatever. So similarly, the movie faced backlash for its marketing, notably Blake Lively encouraging ladies to go grab their florals and head to the theater for It Ends With Us. So it really kind of felt like they were trying to do like a Barbenheimer thing because her husband's movie was coming out at the exact same time, Deadpool. And so they were doing a bunch of like joint things on the red carpet. And if you remember, everybody was wearing pink to go see Barbie. And so they were like, you should go wear flowers. And it was just kind of like, guys, the movie is about domestic violence. And I pitched when I made my little video about it, you know, the purple flower, I think is related to, or the color purple is domestic violence awareness color. And so if they had done wearing purple on the red carpet and used that and said like purple flowers and kind of tied in some flowers that have to deal with strength and resilience as a way to be like, we're still using flowers, but we're also admitting that this film is about domestic violence. The vibe was just so jokey and fun. And it was very jarring if you went in not knowing what the movie was about to then see it get violent like that.
Well, and I'm going to skip and talk about this one, skip one here, because I think that ties into what you're just saying about like the purple color. At the same time, Justin Baldoni was promoting the film almost separately from Blake Lively and the rest of the cast, which raised eyebrows. In contrast with his interviews, there were very... And in contrast, his interviews were very focused on the domestic violence, highlighting survivors, which only made the backlash against Blake a little bit worse. But I think to your point, it seems like once the criticism happened for the film, Justin and his team were like, hey, let's start focusing on this, which I think is like, hey, let me fix it. That's a good pivot, like, because that is a central theme.
Well, and this also ties into some of the backlash because in Blake Lively's lawsuit, you know, she has now sued Justin for sexual harassment. She says that the studio and Justin's production company, which produced the film, they decided that the direction of the marketing was going to be flowery, positive, no talk about domestic violence. And then when they saw the backlash, like you said, they started pivoting. And Blake was supposed to stay on message. So she said, I'm going to stay on message. And she got the backlash while Justin got to look like the hero. This is what her...
That's the start of it.
That's what her lawsuit alleges.
Okay.
She alleges that this is a result of that they were butting heads on set with script and direction. And, you know, by her own admission, she was very heavy-handed in asking Ryan, for example, to rewrite that scene, which he shouldn't have done because we were on strike. And you weren't supposed to be doing no writing during the strike, Ryan. and then also bringing in her own editor to do an edit of the film.
Wow.
And doing a showing of the film when she was only supposed to show a clip at this book event. So she and Justin were butting heads in that way, but she also alleges that he said some inappropriate things about her body, about her weight.
Wait, and didn't he like show her a picture of his wife having a baby during the birth scene or something?
Yeah, she says that in that scene, he showed her like a half naked or her having given birth, and she showed it to him, and the set was supposed to be closed because she didn't have a lot of clothes on in the scene, and his friend was on set, and there's all these voice memos that he had sent her that are floating around where he called her at like 2:00 in the morning and was like doing this like sexy, like, hey, Blake, voice. And he alleges that she started a smear campaign against him by saying that he, this sexual harassment thing, he hired the same crisis team that Johnny Depp hired.
Wow.
So like that feels a little like it's really messy. And it sucks because people are taking sides like this is like a football game. They're all like, I'm team this, I'm team this. It's like, nobody really knows what happened. And I feel uncomfortable like picking a side in that way because I think multiple things can be true. I think he could have crossed the line and she could have also micromanaged the film.
That part. Well, and listen, and everyone's out here trying to make money. Didn't you? You put this in the document. There's like, she was promoting her Betty Buzz thing with one of the premieres or something. Everyone was trying to make money. So press mattered. And then when the press got bad, they were each trying to point the finger at the other person and being like, it was you. And then, and listen, I don't want to take anything away from anyone's truth about what happened on set. So even if that stuff did happen, maybe Blake would have like let it go, but then all this other stuff bubbled up and then she was like, well, now I'm going to bring this other stuff up that was bothering me on set.
Yeah. And you know what? I think you're right there in the sense that you're right. Like, live your truth. I believe that people, if you have an issue, because according to her documentation, she went to the studio multiple times.
Oh,
and
really?
Said that she has a paper trail. And I love receipts. So she said, I went to the studio a number of times and said I wasn't happy about X, Y, and Z. But at the same time, part of me thinks that if the film had been received better, they might not be going at each other like this.
Yes.
Because to me, it felt like, especially because the book was so successful, I think everybody thought that this was going to be like an Oscar contender.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like a
y'all with the Lulu.
I really think that she thought, and I think Justin too. I think everybody thought this movie is going to be like huge, impactful.
Wow.
And it just got so bogged down with like the weird press tour and like the way that the film was handled. And it is sad because nobody wins ultimately. Like, I think both of them are going to be kind of tarnished by this.
Both of them are tarnished. But I mean, I didn't know
yes.
Justin Baldoni's name before this. So like maybe he gets some kind of like name recognition, but it's not no press. What was it the saying? Any press is a good press. Not really.
He was on Jane the Virgin, and I didn't watch that show.
I didn't watch
but people loved him on that show. But a part of the reason that the backlash against him has been so strong is because he has hosted or co-hosted a podcast called Man Enough, where they like break down.
This is the guy with the ponytail.
Yeah.
I've seen
he's
clips,
kind of like
I've seen clips of
Liz Plank. Liz Plank is his co-host, who's a friend of mine.
Okay, I've definitely seen clips of the podcast and enjoyed them.
Yeah, the podcast has been very successful. And when all of this came out, Liz put out a statement. She quit the podcast.
Are you for real?
I mean, yeah. And she put out a very, and I will admit, I'm biased. I like Liz. I know her. She's a friend of mine. I trust her. And the fact that she immediately was like, I'm quitting this job. I do not want to work with this man anymore.
Wow.
To me, and I think it was the thing of like, sometimes I have a little eyebrow raised when a man is like a professional feminist. You know what I mean? When a man is like, hey guys, respect women. And everyone's like, okay, great job. Thank you. But also
because also like it's performative. We don't need your voice. You know what we need? Your dollars. That's what we need.
It just feels like it feels very serving.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, you know, Blake and Ryan, they got married on a plantation. So, and they got real snippy when folks said,
Lest we forget. Lest we
that's
fucking
not
forget.
a place to get married. So I think it's hard for people to wrap their minds around the fact that like many things can be true. That you don't, there's no such thing as a perfect victim.
Right.
That sometimes someone can be an asshole and also be treated poorly, and that doesn't justify the behavior. And also, like, none of us were there. And
that part.
you know, everybody's an expert now because of fucking TikTok. And it's just like, let it shouldn't play out in the press. Y'all should handle this in court and leave us out of it.
Well, and also, like, again, we said this in talking about this. There are times where I don't need to know all of this. I don't need to know any of this. Y'all just make the movie and do, to your point, do the shit in court. But, you know, like everyone, the internet is the internet and everyone needs content, right? So, class, did we fix it? Let us know.
Oh, we haven't done our fixes yet.
Oh, I was just going to do the ad break before the fix.
Yeah, now that we've gone over the film.
Yeah, no, I was supposed to do that.
Yeah, but you said, did we fix it?
I don't know. Can I ad lib?
Yeah, but we haven't fixed it yet. So don't say, did we fix it?
Oh, did we? Okay, heard.
You was ready to fight, sir.
I was. I really was. Okay. Now that we've gone over the film It Ends With Us, it's time for us to fix it. But first, let's take a quick break. And we're back. Fran, do you want to go first?
You know what? You can go first since you... Yes. Go ahead.
You're so sweet. So my fix is the domestic violence. Like I actually was, because it takes such, like halfway through the film, that's when all of that stuff starts. Not that in the flashback you do see Lily's mother and her father and the domestic violence there, and there's like a tension around the family and stuff like that. But I was actually more interested in Blake Lily meeting Ryle, this Prince Charming who's sexy and has a great job and has a good family and is really good to her. And then running into her childhood love. And that when they meet at a restaurant, class, they're, Lily and Ryle are on a double date with Ryle's brother Alyssa and her husband, and they're at Atlas's restaurant, and Lily and Atlas discover each other. I was so much more invested in. I screamed. I actually screamed. I was like, "Oh my God!" I was
especially because you knew it was, as soon as you saw him, you knew it was him.
Yeah, he has a scar on his hand, and then the camera like looks at the scar, and you're like, "Oh my God, that's fucking him." And I was like, "What is going to happen? Fork in the road. What is she going to do?" I'm so much more interested in her toiling with that than like Ryle becoming this like domestic abuser. Not that that's not valuable, but it just was not. It wasn't uninteresting to me, but it just was like, I don't know where this story is. I was invested in that. So that's my fix. Stick with that a little bit, and let me see what happens with when she has to make that forgive the phrasing, the Sophie's Choice of it all, right? Not about a kid, but about two lovers, because she clearly was in love with both of them, and she's invested in Ryle's family, right? Alyssa is her best friend. Alyssa is her employee. So that's a rom-com I could get behind, because then in the latter half of the film, they go back and forth, right? Does she continue to go to Root and see Atlas? Does she run into him? Does Atlas come to the shop and then they can't help it?
Does she sleep with Atlas and then she doesn't know whose baby it is?
I mean, listen, it's been done before, but I'm in it. I'm in it because I'm in the relationship, right? I'm in the throuple of it all, or the love triangle.
Well, I also think, to your point, the Atlas Lily storyline when they're teens is so well crafted that I believe that when she sees him in adulthood, she goes, her heart stops.
She's arrested. Yes.
That's who she lost her virginity to. They had this beautiful love story. And I agree with you. I bought their love story more than I bought her and Ryle. Because Ryle was a fucking creep. He was, and again, I think that was them laying the foundation, but I think it just made more sense that she would fall for Atlas and would be tempted there. And I think you're right. Your instincts are good there.
Well, and also like what I appreciate about the Ryle of it all and the Prince Charming is that, like, again, he's hot, he's very successful. On paper, he is all the things we're supposed to want in a capitalist society. And she's getting it. Great. Why would you ever turn that down? Why would you ever walk away from that? Love. Actual, true, deep, fucking carnal DNA type love where you cannot deny it. And listen, it's a fairy tale. The love part of it and the Prince Charming part of it, but that's the narrative that we're sold readily and regularly in our stories. So like I buy it.
Well, I'm going to piggyback off of you because I think similarly, raising the stakes with the relationships would have made the Sophie's Choice of it all more difficult because, for example, Ryle and Atlas are both successful. Atlas has a restaurant. It's doing well. It's in like the top 10 of Boston or whatever. It would be a harder choice if she runs into him and he's still fucking down on his luck. And it's like, you have it all. You have a hot neurosurgeon husband who has poured money into your flower shop, right? Maybe he's the reason you were able to finally make your dream come true.
I love that.
And then you run into Atlas, the love of your fucking life, and he still is struggling. He still hasn't gotten it together. And we know that Lily loves a broken man. She loves to build him up. So she sees Atlas and she's like, I could fix him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, but it's the thing of like, if I choose you, I'm going to
what
lose
am I
out.
losing?
I'm right, but I'm losing the cushy life, but I'm getting the love.
Talk
and
about
it's
an allegory.
Right. And it's also the thing of like, I would say get rid of the domestic violence. I don't think that
delete.
I just don't think they are ready to handle it. And even the fact that like, again, I love the, oh my God, wait, was that domestic violence? Because I do think that is something that a lot of women deal with, where they kind of want to believe the other version of events because the reality is too difficult. So that was very clever, but once it was done, it was just done. And I wanted, like, does Lily go to a support group? Like, does her mom come and like, how does she actually navigate life after? Because in reality, most women who are in domestic violence situations, they go back multiple times. And so again, it was just kind of like wishy-washy. If they get rid of that and they show the man who's good on paper, but the fire's not there, the rip your clothes. I mean, it's like everything is good on paper.
Yeah.
But it's not until you see the love of your life that you realize, oh my God.
That you come alive.
You
know what,
panties
friend?
are wet.
I would also add my panties are wet. I would also add that like when she sees him, when she sees Atlas, she laughs, right? When she's with Ryle, she laughs. She might giggle or she might think he's kind of funny, but we see her come alive in a different way. That ugly ass flower shop with them ugly ass arrangements, all of a sudden it's color, it's lilies.
Yeah.
It's tulips. It's full of color and beautiful.
I kind of think that's really cool. Like they spend time together and it's all, and like the whole world looks different when she's with Alice.
Change that sepia tone and just make it color. Yeah, I love
the
that.
Color. Justin, you taking notes? Change the color of the film. I would also say something that I think would be really interesting is, she becomes the wife of a neurosurgeon. They probably have to go to like fucking fundraising galas and, go and have dinner with the director of the hospital and like all this weird stuffy shit.
Yeah.
And if they're going to keep Lily as this like weird bohemian that doesn't know how to dress, there's something interesting about the fact that he's like, you need to dress like this. You need to behave like this because now you are the wife of a neurosurgeon. And she's like, no, I kind of just want to wear my fucking overalls, And it's like, he's trying to shape her into the neurosurgeon's wife.
Right.
And it's a great, and it's the Sophie's Choice of it all, where like, who wouldn't want to live in a high-rise mansion and go to fancy on the water and blah, blah, blah. And like she runs into Atlas and maybe they go to his place and it's like a fucking one bedroom. It's, it's like a little hole in the wall. And it's not great, but like he's there, it's like the ultimate thing. So I think just a straightforward romance would have just been nice. I feel like they were trying to do too many things in this film and they didn't do the domestic violence well enough to justify it being in there. And I think if they'd given the romance more, because again, the young Lily Atlas storyline is hot.
Well,
Beautiful.
listen, and to your point about people talking about the romance novel was very steamy, I could have used some more steam. It was real cold in there. It was
Well,
real
and you know,
cold in
and
there.
here's the thing. Again, I think some of that could have been because Blake and Justin didn't really
Oh,
get
they just weren't
along.
vibing. Heard. Yep.
They weren't they weren't
Cutting room
vibing.
floor.
Yeah, and again, Blake says that there were times that he made her uncomfortable because she was nursing her baby and he came to the dressing room and she wanted a body double and there was all this stuff going on. So I do think you're right. The scenes between them where us as the audience, I'm supposed to be like, God damn. They just kind of felt a little to me.
Yeah, a little meh. Yep,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, I guess class, just to wrap up how we felt about the film, I just was kind of like, it was all right. It was all right.
It was
I didn't
fine.
think it was fine. It was fine.
It was fine. I will give it to them. I went in being like, yeah, this is gonna suck, and I was like, it was fine. It was just long. It was just really long.
I feel like whenever we no, that's not true. I was gonna say whenever we go to watch something, we go into it like that. That's very not true. A lot of times we go, I remember this thing and I loved it. Dinosaurs is a great example of that. We just wanted to like celebrate that show. Well,
I picked this one because of the controversy and whatever, but also because I was like, no one's talking about the movie. Like, why don't we talk about the movie? And I was just expecting it was going to be really, really bad, and it was just fine. It was just fine.
Yeah, it was. Listen, I was going to say it's a date night movie, but probably not.
No, don't go on a date. Don't do this as a date night.
Watch this with a friend that you can hold hands with. Ready?
Yeah. Oh God.
But did we fix it is the question. Let us know over on Instagram @FixItPod or email us lemmefixitpod@gmail.com. And now it's time for everyone's favorite segment, the Glow Up, where we give props to those who have turned themselves around without our help. Fran, why don't you go first?
Okay, I have been singing its praises all over the internet. My glow up goes to Clear Protein. Delon, I told you about this stuff. Did you try it? Did you try it?
No.
No.
Listen, I'm still working through. I got a bunch of the last protein you told me to buy. Okay. So I'm still working through that.
Okay, good for you. Okay, so class, here's what I like about this Clear Protein. Usually when you have protein powder, you put it in with like milk. Maybe you put it in, I like orange juice. If you haven't done with orange juice, it's great. Lemonade is also fun to do with your protein. You throw some fruit and berries in there. You throw some spinach, whatever. It gets thick. It turns into a thick drink, okay? And Delon, you are doing a shoulder shimmy. Please get your mind out of the funky. I don't mind. I like a thick drink. I like a thick sludge
like
going down my throat.
You know.
Well, sometimes it gets a little bit much. And I am also really trying to like bump up my fitness. I've put on almost 5 extra pounds of muscle.
Go ahead.
Okay? And Clear Protein is that girl because you add it to water and it's just, it dissipates in a way that's just like, it turns into like a juice. It makes it so easy to get your protein in. And I gotta say, like, I'm seeing the results. I'm seeing the traps. I'm seeing the shoulders. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm fucking standing. I got a little visible ab line. The Clear Protein, this is not sponsored, but there's so many brands out there. I tagged one in my Instagram. I'm really hoping that like maybe a brand deal comes through, but I'm so impressed. I found out about it on TikTok and I gotta say, as much as I dislike the Clock app for a number of reasons, I get so many great recommendations for food and fitness stuff over there.
You and my sisters. I have 2 younger sisters. Class. My sisters. I went to visit my sister in Minnesota in January, and I was like, "Where did you get this?" She was like, "TikTok shop." I was like, "Where did you get?" Like, there were 5 things. I was like, "You stay on TikTok. They get all your money."
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there are people that are definitely pushing stuff only because they're getting a commission. But what I do like about TikTok is sometimes it's just a random person that has no followers and they're like, oh, this is just a thing that I like. And then I can go through with the Clear Protein of it all. I went through Homegirl's channel and I was like, I can see the gains. I can see you getting in better shape.
You better do research.
You know what Francesca gonna do is do some dig. I'm basically an archaeologist. I'm fucking sifting
on the
through.
Interwebs. You sure the fuck are.
I'm in the Matrix. So my glow up goes to Clear Protein this week. What about you?
Amazing. Well, mine is a little bit of a nostalgic glow up. You wouldn't know anything about this because you are in a warm climate, but I'm giving mine up to long underwear, long johns.
Really?
Yes. So I remember. I don't know if you remember, like well, you've lived in Florida. I mean,
No,
in
I
Michigan,
went
did
to
you wear long
Michigan.
johns?
I got some from Uniqlo. I had some when I was in New York too.
Okay, I'll give it to you. But there were like these waffle ones growing up that were never really
Oh.
comfortable on your body. And if you
And you
wear
wear
like
these under your pants,
you
right?
wear them under your pants, so you have your
Right.
actual underwear covering your bits, and then your long underwear or long johns that cover your legs, like ankle to
Mm-hmm.
waist, right? And they're a little stretchy generally, but they're not the best with jeans. Right, because like your jeans are supposed to like kind of fall like fabric, but when you have
Mm-hmm.
another like layer of fabric under it, it kind of like just gets bunched up sometimes.
Yeah.
And those waffle ones would be a little too warm. I grew up in Minnesota, so sometimes even in Minnesota, you'd be like, "Oh, I'm fucking hot," But
Yeah.
to your point about Uniqlo has some like heat tech things that I'm
Oh,
actually wearing this shirt that's
the
heat tech,
heat tech
and
is
the way
bomb.
it falls on your fucking body, this
Well,
fabric, they know
because he
what they're
been in
doing
that
over there in
gym.
Japan. Okay, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm. Because he been in
So
that gym.
wait, you talk about you gaining 5 pounds of muscle, bitch. I have lost 16 pounds.
I mean, Delon, the shoulders are
16
shoulder. You
pounds.
know, you know how I know you got what I call sweater arms. When you can wear a long sleeve, when you can wear a long sleeve, and I see a visible bicep.
Yeah, it's getting there. It
Yeah,
like for real though. I'm like, oh, I'm. Remember we talk about like the body you want. I'm like, oh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
achieving it, and now I crave
Mm-hmm.
going to the gym. I feel good. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sleeping better. Like I said
Mm-hmm.
this on the pod before, but yo, the heat tech. This is not sponsored, but the heat tech at Uniqlo, the way the fabric like lays under my jeans, it is
Yeah.
so awesome.
Oh
I
yeah.
wear this shit around the house. I love it. So I'm giving it
Oh,
up to
it's
long johns for winter.
I will say when I lived in New York, the heat tech at Uniqlo also changed my life because it would be so warm that I would have to open my jacket and let some air in because I would be hot in there. And they also make like a legging. And to your point, I just started wearing them as regular leggings. I was like, there's no reason to put anything on top of these. They're really, and they make socks also. I wore them when I went to
Yes.
Sundance. They really
Yo,
make a difference.
I had I ordered in and I had a friend come over the other day
Oh,
and
oh,
I was wearing nothing but my
oh,
long johns and he was like,
Dela-
"Oh, wow." And I was like, "Oh, wait a minute." It was so sexy because you know the reference and then you go, "Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that is let's go." So, also Heat Tech has a
Wow.
dual use, let me tell you.
Okay. I'm into you like setting the mood, creating a little steamy moment, if you will. Very hot.
Hot to
All
try.
right, class. Okay. All right, class. So now we want to hear from you. Did you see It Ends With Us? What did you like about the movie? What did you dislike? Please let us know. Or maybe you would like to suggest another movie that we should fix in a future episode. Hit us up on Instagram at FixItPod or email us lemmefixitpod@gmail.com.
And as always, if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to give us a rating on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, or your favorite podcast app. I'm DeLon.
Oh, wait. Can you plug the YouTube channel?
Oh, shit, I didn't do that. And also, we have a
Oh,
YouTube
sorry.
channel.
It slowed down for a
It was a
second.
delay,
Wait.
sorry. And also, class, don't forget
Yeah.
we have a YouTube channel where you can see these faces and the unedited video of us stumbling and tripping and all the things over our words. You know, I'm dyslexic and I can barely read. You can find that at youtube.com/@fixitpod. And if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to give us a rating on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, or your favorite podcast app. I'm DeLon.
And I'm Francesca, and this was
Let me
Fix
fix
It.
it. Sorry, I think there was a little